Renewables before food. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, because today we're going to talk about renewables coming before food production. Now, this is something that we need to keep in our mind. They're, pushing forward with renewable energy, building this infrastructure does have a cost and a toll on the environment. It's not all super nice. There are things to consider. Now, farmers fear for land that produces some of the best potato crops in the world. And this is the article from the ABC that will be the basis of our discussion today. So, renewables before food, everyone. Now, before we go through that article, I just want to show you, this is from the Australian government. This is the 2016 survey of just our potato for human consumption, vegetables for human consumption, potatoes, the total production of tons. So 1.1 million. Most of it comes from South Australia, which I didn't know, to be honest. There you go, learn something new. And then you have Tasmania and Victoria. Oh, I guess Tasmania, the climate's similar to Ireland, cold and wet. Potatoes. And so here we have, this map shows you where all of our potatoes are growing. I mean, we've got some in far north Queensland. Okay, cool. New South Wales, Queensland, and Western Australia. So all throughout Australia. So, for generations, farmers in Victoria's west have grown some of Australia's most productive crops. But there are concerns this is about to change. Communities stretching from Melbourne's outer western suburbs to Bulgana, near Starwell, are in the line of a proposed major energy project to build a network of high-voltage transmission lines. For the past years, farmers near Ballarat have sought information about how it will impact upon their businesses and have criticised the lack of information available. In 2019, the Australian Energy Market Operator, AEMO, contracted a division of AusNet Services to plan and operate the Western Victorian Transmission Network project, sending electricity from new renewable energy farms to Melbourne's grids. Catherine Meyer's family runs an irrigated seed potato farm at Torolo, north of Ballarat, and two of the proposed 3 corridors cut through their property. Fantastic. Gotta feel sorry for them. The communication is effectively nil from AusNet, Miss Myers said. They say they're open for communication, but they don't let you speak to the people who know and understand the impacts. I've got shingles. We're not sleeping well. Ah, no. We feel like this is a barge train coming through, and we've got on board too late, so she's obviously suffering from a lot of stress. Potato farmers north of Ballarat say they're worried the use of irrigation equipment will be prohibited on transmission line easements, and this is going to affect their business. Are they going to be compensated, everyone, for the loss of revenue, loss of production, loss of food security? Until recently, AusNet had pointed landowners to a document about living with transmission line easements that listed prohibited farming activities near the infrastructure. However, since the ABC and farmers sought to clarify the restrictions, the link to the document has been removed. Well, there you go. In a statement, AusNet said the document related to existing infrastructure, and it would work with farmers to develop new guidelines specific to this project. New infrastructure for the project will be designed to ensure it has the least amount of impact possible on current land use, including farm operations, it said. This means that once we have narrowed down a single corridor, we will work with potentially impacted landowners to take into account existing farming practices where possible. More information about the path of the transmission lines should be announced in the middle of the year. AusNet said it had consulted with potentially affected communities over the past year and would continue to do so. So, there we go. We all love our potatoes. Even those of us who are carnivore love our potatoes. I've fallen off the wagon with the carnivore diet on Easter, guys. I've gotten to some potatoes again at my mother's house. Couldn't help it. I'll get back on the wagon, don't worry. But still, a catastrophic change in value. The document had included restrictions on spray gun irrigation, as well as farming machinery. Putting the power lines through, you're converting this from the most flexible, productive, and irrigable horticultural land to dry land grazing, which is a catastrophic change in value, Ms. Myers said. She said one of the transmission line options could take out 20% of the irrigated potato area and would prevent aerial spraying. We use spray gun irrigators, which are expressly prohibited. The next big one for us is any machinery over 3 meters would require a permit, she said. You need a permit to use machinery on your own land. There you go. Fantastic. I feel sorry for the farmers. I really do. This is the problem with inner city radicalization and ideologically driven people putting their will on the most productive parts of the country. And that's what this is. Because we'll have a look at how useful this energy generation actually is. Ms. Myers said they had been told compensation payments would be made. However, AusNet has been very clear that we still own the land and are able to use the land despite it being an incredibly reduced capacity. The payments would be minimal. There you go. So maybe AusNet should just buy the land, and then that should be factored into the cost of this hippie electricity that they're putting out there. Just down the road in Blowhard, Jeff Crick said he faced a similar situation with one of the proposed routes cutting his farm in half. His family had farmed the land for 103 years, and their seeding potato operation has supported 3 generations. 103 years on the land, everyone. Bit of history there, and actually using it for something productive. It would break our family's heart if we couldn't farm this land. We've worked long hours here 7 days a week, he said. Mr. Crick said he was concerned about the potential disruption to agriculture in the district. If the restrictions under the power lines are significant, that could put us out of business from a potato grower's point of view, he said. And we could say shift it a mile north, but then that cuts someone else's farm. So, the future of food security. His concerns for the region's farms are shared by food giant McCain. McCain Foods runs a large processing facility in Ballarat and estimates the project could affect 29 local growers. In a statement, the company said it was concerned about the potential loss of some of the best soil in Australia. But don't worry, the inner city greenies will be happy. They'll be happy. That's what matters, those Melbourne votes. So, with highly efficient center pivot irrigation, which maximizes the application of our precious water resources, our growers in this region produce some of the best quality and highest yielding potato crops in the world, the spokesperson said. Australia is a country of limited high quality soils, so this productive land should be protected and farmed sustainably for the food security of future generations. So underground lines are not feasible. Multiple community groups have formed in opposition to the proposed infrastructure and are calling for the transmission lines to be built underground. That can give us the perfect balance between renewable energy, which is critical to our future. We'll put some arguments about that. And the climate change, food security, and fiber security. What's fiber security? Are they talking about fiber data or fiber as in potatoes? Because you don't need fiber in your diet, guys. But that's another topic. Because, we can feed these potatoes to the cattle and pigs that we eat. That's what it really is. It's food for our food. That's my carnivore preference coming through. In a statement, AEMO said it was aware there was a strong preference for the transmission lines to run underground and said the option was considered at the start of the process but was not commercially feasible. Oh no, it's not commercially feasible because it means that it would just cost too much more. You know what would be even cheaper? Maybe expanding the capacity of the existing coal or gas facilities on the other part of the state. It's already there. You've already got the transmission lines. Maybe you could do that or renew it. That's an idea. What about that? Never considered. This is the problem. This is ideologically motivated, everyone. Building transmission cables underground will be in the order of 10 times more expensive than the equivalent overhead options, it said. In comparison, an overhead option would deliver similar network benefits at a significantly lower cost to Victorian consumers who ultimately fund the project. Well, who cares? Why are the Victorian consumers, this just shows you here in Australia, guys, that the government can just sweep through, organizations can just sweep through your land and build on top of it and destroy the capacity of your property here. Welcome to Australia, everyone. The project originally proposed the transition lines running from a new terminal station north of Ballarat to Balangana to be 220 kilowatts. But the state government's Renewable Energy Zone Development Plan has now proposed increasing that section of the project to be 500 kilowatt lines. If approved, that would mean taller towers and larger transmission line easements. In a statement, a government spokesperson said the project was going through a rigorous environmental assessment process. The process will make sure that the local community can have their say. This is the thing. They'll let you have your say. They will let you have your say. They'll have engagement, all of this stuff. Then they'll ignore it. You know. So about any concerns they have, including farming and agricultural issues. Local residents, farmers and members of the public will have a further opportunity to have their say on the project when the environmental effects statement is publicly exhibited. So, there we go, everyone. This is the issue that they're raising. And, I mean, if we have a look, I'll just bring this up here. This is what's happening. The power lines, they're transmitting it from here, and this is the potato growing areas. They want to bring it to the city, to Melbourne. So this is the area that is going to be affected. And there's a few things I want to talk about here that I think is important when we're discussing this. Because they're proposing to do this for wind generation, wind turbine generation. And let's just have a look here. We'll click up. This is, and I will just, this is now, actually I will reload this. I'll reload this, guys, and we will see exactly how much wind energy we are producing here in Queensland, or in Victoria, at this very moment. There we go. Updated for 2:05 when I'm recording this. So if we zoom in here into Victoria, what we're seeing is these are, the crosses are wind turbines. Everyone, they're wind turbines here in Victoria. They're very popular in Victoria. You've got one at Mount Gellibrand, 5% of its output. Here's another one, 17% of its output, 5% of its output. These white ones are all producing nothing, everyone, 0%. They're all producing nothing. Every time I look at this, see these coal power plants that they're talking about closing down? Always running. Oh, look at that. It's below 100%. Wow. But still at 99%. And what we're talking about here is north of Ararat. Where is it? Here we go. Ararat up here. And this is the power hub they're talking about here. You know, this is one of the wind farms producing nothing right now. So there you go, guys. No energy production from that one. But, you know, we still need to disrupt all these lives because and this industry because it's going to make people feel good. So just remember this, because I want to talk about a few other topics. I want to introduce the concept of embodied energy, everyone. Okay, we'll talk about embodied energy. Now, this is the definition of embodied energy, if you're not familiar with it. This is from the the Australian government. Embodied energy is the energy consumed by all of the processes associated with the production of a building, from the mining and processing of natural resources to manufacturing, transport, and product delivery. Embodied energy does not include the operation and disposal of the building material, which would be considered in a life cycle approach. Embodied energy is the upstream or front-end component of the life cycle impact of a home. And this is from your home. So, the embodied energy is the material, design, production, transportation. That'd be it. But then you also have the use and disposal of these too. That's the embodied energy and the carbon footprint. That's kind of the life cycle. But you have to understand that everything has a level of embodied energy in it. Cement, we can see here, this is the energy in production, how many megajoules, bricks, steel, sand. I don't know why they're not saying it. Okay, I guess they're including it in transportation. It should be some in production because it's mined. You've got aggregate, lime. This is just for construction materials. And the reason why I'm showing you construction materials is how I'm introduced to the concept as an architect. It's how we're taught about embodied energy. Because it's something that I think needs to be common knowledge. People need to understand that if you're building this green, solar panels, you're transporting it from the other side of the world because it's cheaper than one manufactured here. It may have worse embodied energy than the one manufactured here. It may be the power generated in the factories to build it may be from coal, compared to maybe one here that's using renewable. So that's just an example of one product having different embodied energies, but both of them still have all of the energy in the production and mining. So let's have a look at, well, current wind generation. That's what I wanted to show you. This is where we're looking at here. And again, you know, this is where we are at the moment. You know, still, well, there you go, not producing much at all. It's kind of sad, really. So let's have a look at wind turbine embodied energy. Okay? Because that's what we're talking about. That's this one here, you know, these are all wind. All of these are wind turbines. Victoria has invested significantly in it, and a lot of these companies are owned by offshore foreign national organizations, but you know, that's for a different topic. So let's have a look at the concept of wind turbine embodied energy. Now, this is a paper written by Crawford in 2007, the Faculty of Architecture, Building and Planning, the University of Melbourne, Australia. And just in the abstract here, the takeaway is the embodied energy component was found to be more significant than in previous studies, emphasized here due to the innovative use of hybrid embodied energy analysis method. The life cycle energy requirements were shown to be offset by the energy produced within the first 12 months of the operation. Now, he's saying here life cycle energy requirements. I don't know why, because he's ignoring demolishing the windmills, the turbines, which you're going to have to eventually, and you know, you can't recycle it. So he's saying 12 months. That's fantastic. 12 months, Florian. What are you talking about? What are you worried about? 12 months, it's just free energy. But there are a few assumptions made in here, and we have to question those assumptions and perhaps challenge them. Because even in this paper that was in 2007, it's found that some of the previous assessments of embodied energy were not right. I mean, this is showing you here. These are some of the assumptions that are made. They're looking at, or he's looking at an 850 kilowatt and a 3 megawatt turbine, and a capacity factor 34% or 33%. That's pretty high. What are we getting? What are we getting right now? I wonder. Let's just check again. Oh, wait. There we go. Nope, 3%. So let's see if we can find one over 30%. That would be, we need an X with a yellow on it. That would be one at the capacity done in that paper. And he was basing it on one in Victoria. That you know, we'll cheat, we'll go interstate. Nothing there. What about Queensland? Come on, Queensland, we can do it. Nope. So not a wind farm anywhere on this map right now is at the capacity used to argue for that. I'm sure it's just coincidence that the time that I always happen to record, these things are always pretty low. That just could that just be a coincidence, everyone? Really, could it? I'll need to do some research and actually get some more data from the energy provider to see what the actual capacity is. You know, if we're producing, but because, well, nothing's over 30%. And now that is an assumption that's been made in this paper here. And that affects the outcome. That affects, say if it's only, you know, instead of your capacity is probably 1/5 of what it actually is, then it will be 5-year payback period. And what if we include demolition in that? That'll take longer. What if we then look at the economic impacts? Because that's not factored into this at all as well. The loss of jobs, the other impacts that this is going to have, the loss of food productivity, the opportunity costs. So, I mean, here you have all of the aspects that are accounted for it. And here's one thing that's quite interesting, because he's comparing the two types of turbines. So whilst the larger 3 megawatt system has been shown to provide a higher EYR, which is an energy yield ratio, the 11% increase is not considered significant. The size of a wind turbine, therefore, may have little influence on its potential energy yield. So just think about that. If the size of the turbine has little influence on its energy yield. But we need to look at, if you build a whole lot of smaller turbines to get the same energy, is it more efficient or less efficient with the construction? That's a whole other question. But you know, there would be a cost difference between an 850 kilowatt and a 3 megawatt wind turbine. Now, some questions that I put to you. End of life. What happens to these things? They're going to start going to the end of life. I've seen articles written about how components of these turbines, like the blades, cannot be recycled. So they're just buried. How they have to blow these things up to pull them apart and recycle them. And, you know, these blades, there's all toxins that leach into the groundwater. That's another issue as well. These things are not angelic. They're not without a burden on the environment. It's a machine, everyone. You've got to understand that. And that wasn't looked at, of course, in the embodied energy cycle here. It did. And here's one similar. Recently, about a year ago, there was a big outrage over old growth tree clearing in Tasmania to widen for transmission lines for a wind farm. And let's, do the Tasmanian ones. We'll jump here to the energy market. We'll have a look. How are we going? We've got a 1%. 1%. How are we going there? 18%. Good stuff. 18%. Tasmania, it has all the hydro, which is, that's the smartest renewable energy. Look at that. Everything running at 100%, 100%, 100%, 94, 100%. Okay, so you got a 0%, a 1%, and a 18% for the 3 wind farms that are on, or 4, sorry, there's a 0. Cattle Hill is at 0. So nothing's really kicking goals there in Tasmania. Why do you even build the bloody things when you got all these hydro ones? You know. Anyway, that's showing you. Building these things takes a lot of land. Transmitting the power takes a lot of land. We had outrage over the fact that old growth forest was cleared to it. And now we're looking at the impact on food as well. The costs. We need to remember this is significant investment. We've got all these wind farms we're looking at now that are nowhere near their utilization rate, nowhere near the percentage that was used to determine their embodied energy payback period. That's a lot of money invested for equipment that isn't running at 100% capacity, or even close to it, or even 50% capacity, or even 30% capacity. Solutions. I would suggest people need to understand the concept of opportunity cost. That's what we need to discuss when we're talking about this. What is the opportunity cost of investing in this infrastructure, or making ideological decisions to push forward with these type of projects? So what is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost represents the potential benefit an individual investor or business misses out on when choosing one alternative over another. The idea of opportunity cost is a major concept in economics. Because by definition they are unseen, opportunity costs can be easily overlooked if one is not careful. Understanding the potential missed opportunities foregone by choosing one investment over another allows for better decision making. This is what I think is part of the solution, making and helping more people become aware of the concept of opportunity cost. Because we have invested significant resources in wind production capacity in Victoria. Look at how much of it is not producing any power right now. Think about all the tree clearing, all the land clearing to transmit and move this power all around. What if instead we simply increase the capacity of the good old coal plants that we have there? We've got significant coal reserves. Or what about all of the gas reserves in the Bass Strait? We looked at that. Because you have to understand the argument for having a environmental impact. It's contingent, or environmental benefit of these wind turbines is contingent on the 34% utilization capacity. We're not getting anywhere near that. So does that throw it out of the question? And we also have to remember, don't forget this. This is what Finkel said. Dr. Alan Finkel, chief science here in Australia. If the world, he was asked, if the world were to reduce its carbon emissions by 1.3%, what impact would that make on the climate, on the changing climate in the world? And his response was the impact would be virtually nothing. That's if Australia became completely carbon neutral. It would make no difference to the world. But it would make a huge difference to us. There is a huge opportunity cost to that. A reduction in our quality of life. A reduction in opportunities for Australians. Less jobs. More expensive electricity. more government intervention in our lives, and less reliable power generation. So that's the argument I put. Anyway, guys, thank you all very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this topic. Do you think should they just buy the land off the farmers outright? Or should we look at other alternatives? Remember, this is just to get Victoria to be carbon neutral and produce 50% green energy by an insane amount of time. What's more important, hitting that goal or ensuring food security? As always, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one in the comments down below. If you're a fan of the channel and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links on Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.